Hi there, and welcome back for Chapter 6 of Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. In the last time we got together, Wilbur finally found out who his secret friend was. It turned out to be a lovely and wise spider named Charlotte. Let's see how they're getting along in Chapter 6 Summer Days. The early summer days on the farm are the happiest and fairest days of the year. Lilacs bloom and make the air sweet and then fade. Apple blossoms come with the lilacs and the bees visit around among the apple trees. The days grow warm and soft. School ends and children have time to play and fish for trout in the brook. Avery often brought home a trout in his pocket, warm and stiff and ready to be fried for supper. Because that's not quite the way we get fish today, huh? When we have to go to the supermarket. Now that school was over, Fern visited the barn almost every day to sit quietly on her stool. The animals treated her as an equal. The sheep lay calmly at her feet. Around the 1st of July, the workhorses were hitched to the mowing machine, and Mr. Zuckerman climbed into the seat and drove into the field. All morning you could hear the rattle of the machine as it went round and round while the tall grass fell down behind the cutter bar in long green swaths. Next day, if there was no thunder shower, all hands would help rake and pitch and load, and the hay would be hauled to the barn in a high hay wagon with Fern and Avery riding at the top of the load. Then the hay would be hoisted, sweet and warm, into the big loft until the whole barn seemed like a wonderful bed of timothy and clover. It was fine to jump in and perfect to hide in. And sometimes Avery would find a little green snake in the hay and would add it to the other things in his pocket. Early summer days are a jubilee time for birds. In the fields around the house, in the barn, in the woods, in the swamp, everywhere, love and songs and nests and eggs. From the edge of the woods, the white-throated sparrow, which must have come all the way from Boston, calls, "Oh, Peabody, Peabody, Peabody." On an apple bough, the phoebe teeters and wags its tail and says, "Phoebe, Phoebe." The song sparrow, who knows how brief and lovely life is, says, "Sweet, sweet, sweet interlude, sweet interlude." If you enter the barn, the swallows swoop down from their nests and scold. "Cheeky, cheeky," they say. Well, birds don't actually say those words, but I think what the author was telling us is that that's the way the songs and the sounds that those birds made sounded to him. They sounded like they were talking to him. Sometimes if you listen to a bird, besides hearing how musical it is, you sometimes can hear it almost sounds like you're saying a word that you recognize. Try that next time. When you see a bird and hear it singing, see if it sounds like a word that you know or have heard before. In early summer, there are plenty of things for a child to eat and drink and suck and chew. Dandelion stems are full of milk. Clover heads are loaded with nectar. The Frigidaire is full of cold, iced drinks. Everywhere you look is life. Even the little ball of spit on the wheat stalk, if you poke it apart, has a green worm inside it. And on the underside of the leaf of the potato vine are bright orange eggs of the potato bug. It was on an early day in summer that the goose eggs hatched. This was an important event in the barn cellar. Fern was there sitting on her stool when it happened. Except for the goose herself, Charlotte was the first to know that the goslings had arrived. The goose knew a day in advance that they were coming. She could hear their weak little voices calling from inside the egg. She knew that they were desperately cramped position inside the shell and were most anxious to break through the shell and get out. So she sat quite still and talked less than usual. When the first gosling poked its gray-green head through the goose's feathers and looked around, Charlotte spied it and made the announcement. "I am sure," she said, "that every one of us here will be gratified to learn that after 4 weeks of unremitting effort and patience on the part of our friend the goose, she now has something to show for it. The goslings have arrived. May I offer my sincere congratulations?" "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you," said the goose, nodding and bowing shamelessly. "Thank you," said the gander. "Congratulations," shouted Wilbur. "How many goslings are there? I can only see one." "There are 7," said the goose. "Fine," said Charlotte. 7 is a lucky number. "Luck had nothing to do with it," said the goose. "It was good management and hard work." At this point, Templeton showed his nose from his hiding place under Wilbur's trough. He glanced at Fern, then crept cautiously towards the goose, keeping close to the wall. Everyone watched him, for he was not well liked and not trusted. "Look," he began in his sharp voice. "You say you have 7 goslings? There were 8 eggs. What happened to the other egg? Why didn't it hatch?" "It's a dud, I guess," said the goose. "What are you going to do with it?" continued Templeton, his little round, beady eyes fixed on the goose. "You can have it," replied the goose. "Roll it away and add it to the nasty collection of yours." Templeton had a habit of picking up unusual objects around the farm and storing them in his home. He saved everything. Certainly, said the gander. "You may have the egg, but I'll tell you one thing, Templeton. If I ever catch you poking around your ugly nose around our goslings, I'll give you the worst pounding a rat ever took." And the gander opened his strong wings and beat the air with them to show his power. He was strong and brave. But the truth is, both the goose and the gander were worried about Templeton, and with good reason. The rat had no morals, no conscience, no scruples, no consideration, no decency, no milk of rodent kindness, no compunctions, no higher feeling, no friendliness, no anything. He would kill a gosling if he could get away with it. The goose knew it. Everybody knew it. With her broad bill, the goose pushed the unhatched egg out of the nest, and the entire company watched in disgust while the rat rolled it away. Even Wilbur, who would eat almost anything, was appalled. "Imagine wanting a junky old rotten egg," he muttered. "A rat is a rat," said Charlotte. She laughed a tinkling little laugh. "But, my friends, if that ancient egg ever breaks, this barn will be untenable." "What's that mean?" asked Wilbur. "It means nobody will be able to live here on account of the smell. A rotten egg is a regular stink bomb." "I won't break it," snarled Templeton. "I know what I'm doing. I handle stuff like this all the time." He disappeared into his tunnel, pushing the goose egg in front of him. He pushed and nudged till he succeeded in rolling it to his lair under the trough. That afternoon, when the wind had died down and the barnyard was quiet and warm, the gray goose led his 7 goslings off the nest and out into the world. Mr. Zuckerman spied them when he came with Wilbur's supper. "Well, hello there," he said, smiling all over. "Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 baby geese. Now, isn't that lovely?" And that is the end of chapter 6. So I hope you enjoyed that. Boy, a lot of different things we learned about farms, didn't we? Very different than living in the city, isn't it? The smells are different, the sounds are different, and of course there are lots of animals that we don't get to see very often, unless we go to the zoo or a farm. Anyway, see you next time, and if you haven't done so yet, Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the rest of the story. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.